Hello everyone, welcome back to Edutainer. In this lecture, we will be completing all the topics of object oriented. So we will be starting a new module. So let's start. C++ classes and objects. What was the purpose of C++? As we all know, the purpose of C++ to add object orientation to the C programming. The data and functions within a class are called the member of classes. So we all know that in object oriented we have classes and objects, and the data and the functions that are within a class are called the member of class or member functions. It starts with the keyword class followed by the class name. So the class is a keyword which is also a reserved word, so you cannot have a variable within naming with class. So for example, you can see a syntax of class over here. We have written a class keyword and then we have the name of the class. The class name is box, then followed by the curly braces. Defining a class. How do you define a class? So over here we can see an example of a class cuboid. So over here you can see the class is a keyword and the cuboid is the name of the class. Curly braces, in which we are defining three variables: integer length, integer breadth and integer height, which is the length of cuboid, breadth of cuboid and the height of the cuboid. So this is how you define a class. Class objects. An object is created from the class. So whenever you want to access the class or whenever you want to call the variables, we will be using the objects. Objects are instances of classes. So over here you can see how we have defined the objects. So over here we have defined cuboid, this is the class name, and then we are defining the object, that is cuboid 1. So this is the first cuboid, and then we are defining the second cuboid, that is cuboid 2. So same class is having two different cuboids, cuboid 1 and cuboid 2. Now we will be moving to code blocks to have some practical so that I can show you how to create a class and the objects. So let's start with the coding. First of all, we will be including the header files, that is iostream. In our previous lecture, I have told you about the header files. Then we will be using name space standard. Now I will be defining a class named as cuboid. Okay. Now I will be creating three variables: integer length, integer breadth and integer width, or we can say height. Okay. After this, I will be creating an integer main function. Now I will be creating the object of this class cuboid. I will be creating one cuboid 1. Cuboid 1. I have created one object over here. So now I will be also putting integer volume, creating a variable as 0. Okay. Now I will be putting the values of cuboid length, breadth and height. Okay. So for that I will be using the object cuboid 1 to access the variables. Like if you want to access the variables that are defined in the cuboid, we will be using a dot operator to access those things. So cuboid 1 dot length, I will be putting the value as 5.0. Similarly for cuboid 1 dot breadth, I will be giving the value of 8.0. Similarly for the height, I will be giving 10.0. So over here I have defined the length, breadth and height using the object that we have created, cuboid 1. Okay. Now we will be finding the volume. So the volume we had defined inside the main function only over here. So volume is equal to cuboid 1 dot length multiplied by, over here our object was cuboid 1. Similarly, we will be using the value of cuboid 1 as breadth multiply cuboid height. Okay. Now I will be printing out the volume. The volume of cuboid is volume, end of line. So I have completed my main function. Now I will be compiling and running the program. So you can see that we got an error over here. It says that integer cuboid length is private. In this part, all the objects or the variables that we are defined inside the class are private by default. So we will be also writing public to make these variables as public so that in the main function they can be called. We will be covering this thing in the next upcoming lectures as a access modifier. So you can see the volume of cuboid is 400. So this is how you create a class and execute it. Thank you.